Washington Journal continues.
Well, one of the 16 new senators in the 112th Congress is Jerry Moran, a Republican of Kansas, former longtime congressman from Kansas. Senator Moran, welcome and congratulations to you. Right before we went on, I was about to refer to you as Senator-elect Moran, but you told me no.
Well, I didn't mean that in an arrogant way, Peter.
No.
We should have asked the Senate historian, but at least I've been informed that as of Monday at noon, January the 3rd, Senator-elects became senators, although as you know and our viewers know, the swearing-in takes place today at noon, in which I actually raise my hand and take the oath to defend the Constitution.
Well, Senator, one of the first things that you will be looking at in the Senate is changing the rules on filibuster. We discussed that a little bit with Don Ritchie, the Senate historian. What are your thoughts?
Peter, I generally think that the Senate is designed to be that deliberative body, and that each 100 members of the United States Senate ought to have a great ability to influence the outcome of the debate, of what is debated, and certainly the vote that determines what legislation is passed by the Senate. And as a member of the Senate from a very rural state, Kansas, the rules seem to me to protect the minority, and I consider myself very much a member of the minority in taking care of interests of small rural states like Kansas. And I also think it'd be awfully presumptuous, and I'm interested in hearing the debate, and I've watched the proponents of change in the rules, but it'd be very presumptuous of me on day one to make a decision to dramatically change the Senate rules. And so my inclination is that I'm not supportive of that. I think they're there, that those rules there are to protect members of the Senate like me, and to protect people who have a different point of view. And these rules have been in place historically a long time. I'm reluctant to make any changes, certainly on day one.
Well, one of the arguments in favor of changing the rules is that the filibuster has become a 60-vote Senate, and that every single piece of legislation gets gridlocked in trying to get to that 60-vote margin, even if the Democrats or the Republicans have a majority.
Well, you know, I think gridlock can serve a purpose. Gridlock is not always bad, although I'm here to legislate. I want members of Congress to have the ability to introduce legislation, to offer amendments. That's one of the most important things. In fact, one of the more appealing things about leaving the House of Representatives for me to come to the Senate is the ability for me as a member of the United States Senate to offer an amendment. That's a pretty rare thing in the House of Representatives. And my ability in the House was generally limited to 1 or 2 minutes on the House floor. Here a senator has the ability to speak ad nauseum. And I think from my ability to represent Kansans and to improve America, that we are in good shape.
I just want to point out that Speaker-to-be John Boehner is just entering St. Peter's Church for the ecumenical prayer service that begins at 9 a.m., and that was Mrs. Boehner following him. This is a live picture. That service will begin at 9 a.m. No cameras are allowed in the church service, so we won't be live in there, unfortunately. But we do have Senator Jerry Moran, Republican of Kansas, one of 16 new senators. 16% of the Senate's going to be new.
You know, that's a significant change. I think you'll see a bit of a different Senate. I look forward to being a part of that new blood in the Senate. I have respect for the traditions and as we talked about, the rules of the Senate. But I do want to see that we have a voice of the people in the Senate. I think that's what elections are about. I also want to make certain that what I think is the direction that the electorate suggested in November is carried forward, which is less government, smaller expenditures, balancing the budget, the things that many of your guests will talk about, and a focus upon the economy. A better word for that is jobs.
And you were a member of the Tea Party caucus over in the House. Is there such a thing in the Senate? And would you join it if there were?
Well,
would you start one?
You know, I am a member. My experience with the Tea Party, let me say it this way, has been I think it's a good development for the country. And most of my experience, in fact, all of it comes from being at a Tea Party in Kansas. And what I find, and incidentally, I do 69 town hall meetings. Every year that I've been a member of the House of Representatives, I conduct a town hall meeting in each of the 69 counties that comprised my House district. We'll expand that to the 105 counties of Kansas. And what I've experienced in the Tea Parties these are just normal, everyday, average Americans, Kansans, who have a genuine concern about the future of their country. And at least my experience has been nothing but that being the case. And so the Tea Party, I think, has a significant role to play in reformulating the way that Washington, D.C., the elected officials, the establishment here looks at the future of our country. So Tea Party, to me, is a positive thing.
Let's take some calls.
Okay.
First up for Senator Moran is Chicago. Go ahead, Carl, Democrat.
Yes, good morning. How are you?
Hi.
I'm calling this morning because I hate to say this. I'm a liberal Democrat, and all throughout my life I had respect for other people who didn't, who weren't liberal, even conservatives. But over the last 10 years or so, I've begun to have a somewhat growing hatred for conservatives. My sense is that, like today, they're going to in the House read the Constitution, and you're going to take the oath of office, and within that oath, you're going to swear to more or less support the Constitution and what it's about. But part of what the Constitution about and this country is about is acting in good faith. Conservatives over the last 10 years have failed to do so. You came out of the House, and for 2 years, people like you in the House totally acted out of good faith. You didn't support anything that this president tried to do during a critical time of our country when we had problems. It's just all the conservatives have come to do right now is to seek after power and not concerns of, well, this government. You think that it's your birthright to run the country now, and no one else, anyone else who happens to get elected in that's not conservative, you see them as somehow imposters.
All right,
you want to
Carl,
change everything.
we got the point. Thank you. Senator Moran.
Well, first of all, I have been a House member during President Obama's administration, and there are very few votes that I cast on the major issues that were supportive of the president's position. But it has nothing to do with the fact that the president is a Democrat. It has to do with the fact that I strongly disagree with the health care reform bill, the levels of spending. And I would say this is true of at least the perspective I try to take is it doesn't matter whether it's a Republican or Democrat president. Bad ideas are bad ideas. And my voting record indicates that I found from time to time the Bush administration had bad ideas. And so I've tried to be pretty consistent in my belief that government is too big, too expensive, and the deficit is unmanageable. So it's not a partisan position that I take. It's perhaps a philosophical, my background, what Kansans believe. I also would say that I certainly don't take the attitude that you ascribe, that I have a God-given right to serve or to be in the majority. Or from my perspective, I'm very fortunate to be a member of the United States Senate, to have been a member of the House. There's nothing in my background that would suggest that that was anything that would ever happen in my lifetime. I also have great respect for those who have a different point of view. That is what this Congress is all about. 435 members of the House, 100 members of the Senate. I would never expect us to come together in agreement, and just because a person disagrees with me or I disagree with their position, I don't think any less of them. In fact, I try to learn from other people who, whether they're to conservative or liberal or moderate, whatever the labels we put on people, I have something to learn from every conversation I have. And so this is not me believing I have all the answers, know the right answer to every question. We're here in this Congress, 100 senators in my case now, to see if we can resolve what is good for the country, and to do so in a way that abides by the Constitution. You indicated in your comments or question that sort of abiding by the Constitution. We have absolutely, our oath is not to kind of abide by. It is to that the Constitution matters, and so within that framework, our goal here is to discover what is good for America based upon the Constitution.
We have this tweet for you from Oversight of Government. Do you support tax reform as proposed by the Fiscal Commission, and will you introduce similar legislation in the Senate?
Well, I support tax reform, and I'm also in the House have been a sponsor of the legislation called the Fair Tax. I think whatever direction that we go, the current tax code is unmanageable. It limits our freedoms. Individuals make decisions based upon what the tax code says, not what's in their best interests as a business person, as a father or a head of a household, a mother. We make decisions in our lives based upon what the tax consequences are, and that restricts our freedoms and liberties in this country. And I think we have a great ability to grow the economy by getting a tax code that allows for the growth of business, and there's certainty in what the rules and regulations are about how we pay for our government. So I have a different idea than certainly than the current tax code, but I'm certainly open to suggestions about how we dramatically change the current tax code.
Jerry is a Republican in Syracuse, New York. You're on with Senator Jerry Moran. Jerry, you with us?
Yes, I am. Hello?
Please go ahead.
Okay. Briefly, I have 4 issues. 1, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid need to be looked at. How about the money that goes to other countries that ends up in the hands of Al-Qaeda or the drug trade? Number 2, it isn't health care reform, it's health insurance reform. Number 3, if we are against the rich and we help the poor become rich, will we then be against them? Number 4, we lost Syracuse, China, a 100-year-old company, to the country of China. And while I've been waiting on the phone, I'm so glad to hear they went to church this morning. And I want to tell you, the closed captioning, every time you say historical, it comes up hysterical. But thank you.
Thank you for that last point, Jerry.
That is good to know. I try not to be hysterical, but I do try to pay attention to history. You had a long list of things.
If you could hold off for 1 second, Senator, I just want to point out that Nancy Pelosi is now arriving at St. Peter's Church. She just got out of her vehicle with her family there. You can see her walking in for the 9 a.m. church service. I apologize to you.
No, I'm also, like our caller, glad to see that the day is starting at church for many members of Congress and House members-elect. A long list of things there. What I would suggest just as an overall theme is that we need dramatic change. Politics as usual, business as usual in Washington, D.C. cannot continue. And I think that we have, in a sense, no choice. If we don't make the changes ourselves in a rational, reasonable, more long-term approach, the laws of economics, the current world economic situation is going to befall the United States. We are not that far removed from what's happening in Greece or Portugal or Ireland. We have the laws of economics apply regardless of what members of Congress might think. And so the reforms, the dramatic changes that are necessary, if we don't do them in a good, thoughtful manner that leads our country in the right direction, I think those laws of economics are going to come take place. And you complain about a company leaving Syracuse, New York to move to China. We've got to be very careful what we do. We operate in an economic system in which business is going to find the most cost-effective way of manufacturing goods, for example. You mentioned about healthcare reform not being healthcare reform, health insurance reform. I remember sitting with a business person in Kansas telling me that they've sent much of their work to India so they can get out from under the constraints of the healthcare reform bill. The things we make decisions about here in Congress have a dramatic effect upon whether or not there are jobs in the United States, whether they're in Syracuse, New York, or Little Manhattan, Kansas. And we need to realize that the laws of economics apply to us.
One of the first votes you'll be taking in the next couple months, debt limit.
I can't imagine voting to increase the debt limit in the absence of substantial changes in how we're doing business. So the process, the procedure, and more importantly, a plan to reduce the deficit. In my opinion, it's leverage that I have as an elected official to finally hold us accountable, Congress, the House of Representatives, the Senate, the President, in getting us moving in the right direction in regard to deficits. I think deficits are our most damaging economic feature today, and I think there's a moral component to this, that in our failure to act to address the issue of deficit spending, we are immoral in what we're doing to the next generation of Americans. So I've not said this publicly, so here on C-SPAN this morning on Washington Journal, I would say that my vote to extend or increase the debt limit is certainly not one that anyone can count on, and it would only come with significant reform and reduction in the future today and in the future of spending.
Jerry Moran is our guest. He is the new senator from Kansas. What's the rest of your day like?
Today is lots of Kansans in Washington, D.C., and we're looking forward to visiting with them. At noon, the Senate will convene, and I will, as we talked earlier, raise my hand, be sworn in as a member of the United States Senate. The disappointment of the day, in Kansas, the seat was currently held by Senator Brownback. Prior to that, Senator Fromm, and before that, Senator Dole. And often in Kansas terminology, this is the Dole seat. And Senator Dole was expected to be my guest today, in fact, to escort me to the well of the House. I'm sorry, the well of the Senate,